Hello, welcome back. Offline, I was thinking a bit about how I can improve the search functionality. I was actually looking in casts here, and I noticed that they have a discover functionality. So if you type in the name of a podcast, it will go and fetch that podcast for you, and it's using the podcastindex.org search functionality. If you go to podcastindex.org, you can see that they offer this free API for people to use, providing that they don't abuse it. So you can see that the results returned here are pretty much identical to what's in the app. So yeah, I thought we could leverage this for the Podcatcher app. And I noticed they have some official documentation here. They have a Python example, which I've already been looking at. Yeah, so I'm essentially just going to try and take this example and try and get it to work in the shell to start with. So let's give this a crack. So it looks like we're importing a bunch of stuff. We can't import requests because we're using urllib free, so let's try urllib free instead. We need time. The query here is going to be stuff you should know. And it looks like they're building a URL by just appending the query to the end of it, like that. We're going to need epoch time. Now we're going to need this data to hash, but we don't have our API key defined, so we're going to import OS. API key is going to be the os.environ.get podcast index. What do I call it? Podcast index API key. Just say API key is not is true, so there is stuff in there, I'm hoping. And then the secret key, or API secret, sorry. Say API secret is going to be podcast index API secret. So then I'm guessing we can take this data to hash. I was going to complain API secret is not defined. Did I? API secret, and then this is going to be API key. Let me just fix that. API key. Okay, so now we can do data to hash. So hopefully that is like got information in it. Let's generate a SHA-1. Let's build the request with some headers, and then it's doing request.post, but we don't have requests, we have urllib. So we can do urllib.free. I think it's request. Let's just double check. I think we have. Do we have any examples of this? We do. We should have in views. No, in admin there should be a urllib.request. Yeah, so we're going to do post, and then instead of. Okay, so this should work. We're going to do URL equals URL. Yeah, URL, and then maybe headers. URL free is not defined. Okay, yes, because I've done triple L. Request takes 2 positional arguments, but 3 were given. Possibly because I need to do that. Status. Okay, we've got 200 back. We've got some data. That's promising. Is this bytes? Let's have a look. Can we do resp.json? We can. Okay, that's very cool. Okay, so it looks like there's we can look up the number of results. There's 41 results. We can see there's feeds in here. Looks like a list of feeds. So it's going to give us like an ID back, a title, a URL. Okay, all this looks very, very promising. So I think we can actually use some of this information inside our application to, you know, spice up the search results. So let's give this a try. So if you get here and we've looked in our own database for search results and haven't found anything, then maybe we should be hitting the podcast index, or maybe like a combination of both. For the time being, let's just ignore the current results that we already have, and let's try and build up this example again, this time in code and not in the REPL. So basically the query is going to be our search term here. So the URL that we're going to search for is going to be this plus the search term, which is fairly standard. Epoch time, let's import time. Maybe I want to pull this out into a separate file, but for the time being, let's just keep it as is. Let's just copy paste along with all the comments because it might be helpful in the future. Just indent all that. It looks like we're going to need hashlib and datetime.date as well, so let's just import those. And build up the headers. This API key and API secret, we'll probably need to do API key equals os bar and get cast index API key, and then the API secret is going to be podcast index API secret. Don't think we imported OS, so let's import that. Is there anything else here that's immediately leaping out as broken? No. URL lib, and then let's say the response is URL lib request. It's going to be a post request to the URL. The headers going to be in the headers. If resp status is 200. In fact, let's not bother about error handling for now. Can I remember what we did in here? It was response.json. Say results dot JSON feeds. Let's just do this for the time being, and maybe results can just be results, and we can just render that in the search page. There's not going to be any absolute URL anymore, so let's just remove that for the time being, and just see what happens if we dump JSON. Yeah, let's see if this works. I'll be quite amazed if it does first time, but hey ho. So let's navigate back here. My server is running, and let's say stuff you should know. Module object is not callable. Okay. Can I remember how I called this? URL lib read.request. Okay, I called URL lib. That is why that's failing. Should be you. Let's try this again. Oh wow, so it looks here like it's iterating over the keys, which is not what we want. If we look here, really we want it to iterate over probably the feeds itself, so maybe inside here, inside search, we can say feeds and use this like dot lookup. Oh wow, okay, that's cool. So it looks like we have access to title, URL, a link. Do we have an image here? An image? Okay, this is very, very interesting. So let's think about how we can use this data. Stuff should know. It's pretty fast as well. We need to fix this table as well because this is episode. So let's maybe just do this in the template for the time being. And maybe when we click on this link, it should redirect you to an actual page that we've properly parsed. So if I search for stuff you should know, when you click on the link for stuff you should know, it should redirect you to like our internal result for stuff you should know potentially. Let's think about how we could do that. But before that, let's maybe just prettify this data, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to import all of this data I just want to show the results. And if you then click on the result, then I'll go and fetch the episodes for you on a page that kind of looks like this. Let's see how Cast does it. So I click on this. It's not actually fetched any. It's not ingested any data into the application until you like subscribe to it, and then when you subscribe to it, it's going to appear in your subscriptions. It actually looks like I need to refresh it first. Okay, so let's follow that same sort of model where none of this is actually part of our database until you subscribe potentially. Yeah, let's do it that way and keep it simple. So inside search, let's just change this and say podcast, or maybe title, and we can say result dot title. What else do we have in here? We have a URL, we have a link, we have an author. Let's maybe just link to the thing for the time being. So we can say a href result link. What's the difference here between the link and the URL? Okay, so this is the feed URL and this is the original URL. Maybe I need the original URL, so original URL. Yeah, let's just see what this looks like for the time being then. So, okay, that's very cool. So that takes you to stuff you should know, which is the wrong URL. Just show the original stuff again. Just show me the result. Original URL feeds.megaphone.fm. What happens if I go to this? Is this gonna give me? I don't want that. I want the like the site URL. Do we have this? Maybe it's this one. Just link. This looks more like a less of a feed link and more of a site link. Ah, yes. Okay. So let's go back, or forward. Sorry. The href is going to be result dot link. This is going to be result dot title. Click stuff you should know. Okay, it takes you to stuff you should know podcast, and maybe we just have a thing here and a new thing here, and then maybe a button or a link that looks like a button. Can we do that in Bootstrap? That says subscribe, and the href right now is not going to do anything. I'm going to say class button success, refresh. Okay, so when you click that, we can override it so that it takes you to one of these kinds of pages. But let's not worry about that for now. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this. Maybe we can show these in a card, like a list of cards, maybe. Or is it like a list kind of component, list group? I don't think that would be very good for rendering like images. So, is there an example here where they have like an image to the side? Like a horizontal card. I think this would be interesting. So let's copy this, and then in our table, do we even want a table at this point, or do we just show a list of cards? Yeah, let's bin off the table, and then just say for result in results feeds n4. I want to show a card. And we're going to bin the table where this card title is going to be result.title. Let's see what this looks like. And the image is going to be something. Again, I keep on needing to print the title here, or the contents again. So let's say just result. So we have an ID, stuff you should know. We probably want to link to the original thing with like a button again. So let's say a class button button. Let's just call it button primary, and then let's say view podcast, and the href here is going to be the result link. We have an image here. Image, yes we do, so maybe we can do something like result.image. We refresh this now. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. We don't want this result.text anymore. Refresh again. Wow, that is looking quite impressive. Some problem with like the width maybe, so let's try doing, oh, you see here it has this col. Probably don't need that. Oh, I think we did need that actually. Potentially we need to make the wrapper or each card like 100. Let's try this. Oh, it looks like this max width here is actually upsetting everything, so what happens if we change that? Okay, so that's made the images massive, so maybe if we apply the max width to there instead, so we steal this style and say max width here instead, what happens? Oh no. Okay, let's just keep it simple and undo those things, and let's have them slightly off center for the time being. So now we can view stuff you should know. That appears to be crashing. We can view this. I'm kind of happy with this. So yeah, I think let's park that for now, and then in the next episode, we can potentially look at like ingesting this podcast, so like a subscribe page potentially. I've actually just noticed that here we should be showing the original search query, so let me just fix that before I sign off. So we want to say here that the value is going to be probably request.get.search, and give it like a default maybe. I'm not sure if this will work. It's been a while since I've done any magic Django. Let's try it again. Okay, so stuff you should know. We go home, that cancels, type in test. Okay. Wow, it's yeah. Alright, so we have improved search, and if we have a original URL and we just type in this, it takes us to Talk Python. So that is working as intended still. Alright, see you guys in the next episode.